that voice, so they can go on to your Facebook page, they can tweet to you about an experience that they have, good or bad, and they do expect a response, so you need to have mechanisms to set up that you can respond within short time frames possible, a few hours, that they can get feedback on their experience. And I was going to say the difference with the markets as well that we've seen in Australia, particularly on our Facebook page, customers are very vocal and you cannot censor anything. Where in Singapore they're a little bit more accepting of brands censoring negative comments, deleting them from their page. And so there is definitely a difference with that, and that's, I think, led to the rise of blogs being so strong here in Singapore that people can write their opinions, they can write a piece about their experience and people read about it and they can comment as well.
So are you saying that a lot of brands in Singapore and their marketing efforts online actually clean up their pages?
Yes. I mean,
we should.
No, it's true.
Yeah,
but should they?
And it can happen that a customer has a bad experience and it's an anomaly, and as a brand you don't want to have that exposed, so you do manage that. And we've found in Australia, people will consciously look at their comments and delete it, and they feed that back to you. So you have to be very open and have these mechanisms in place too.
And I think we kind of moved into sort of what sort of benefit are the comments that come out on social media and such. And I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I address this to the room as well, I think if you have an issue with a brand and you have the opportunity to make the comment and then that issue is actually addressed, isn't there a cycle of satisfaction in that? I think that's where brands can actually, benefit from this, because it shows that you're actually interested in that personal contact with your consumer.
And I think that goes online and offline. So we also have, we put a lot of importance into our customer care, because it's a very, very important channel for understanding what do our consumers feel about our products. And we always thank them for calling in and try to basically ask as many questions to understand the context of the query. So I fully agree. And I think brands that delete those comments, they're really missing out on an opportunity.
When I was running the hotel group e-commerce, when social media first started and there was a big TripAdvisor and stuff, and most of the GMs in the hotels around the world were just telling me, hey, look, there's a bad thing, something on there. Why aren't you responding? I'm sitting here at corporate. Why aren't you responding? Why aren't you taking care of this? And I'm like, it's not my job. It's your job. It was your problem. They complain about your hotel. You should go out there and reply to it, make better. And if it's true that there's something inherently wrong with the service, the hotel, whatever it is, and solve it, because it's now public. I can't just go to TripAdvisor and delete it. And I'm not going to fake, and they shouldn't fake a reviewer saying good things about it, right? But if it goes down to in this case, down to the hotel level, they should fix what was wrong.
I agree with you, and I don't think social media and the marketing aspect of social media can be a passive thing. It is a constant, active thing. And with a lot of brands, what happens is when they don't understand what social media is about and how the immediacy of the response is very important, that's when brands start to actually fail, because the perception is also immediate, that you don't care, that you're old-fashioned, that you don't understand. So I think this is an area of great importance. It's wonderful to be able to market to people online and tell them stuff about your products and everything, but if you actually don't listen to your consumers, you probably didn't listen to your consumers offline either, when you have this opportunity to listen to them online right now. Fair point, I think. Yeah. Other questions before we wrap for the day? There's a lady at the back over there who's raised a hand. I can't believe there's only 2 questions out of the whole audience. Come on, guys. I know it's tea time. Come on.
Hi, Anita, Gina, and the rest of the panel. It's been really lovely listening to your comments. I'm a blogger, and my name is Estelle Kira. I write about love and other life topics, and I actually fiercely swing between addressing male and female topics. So my question to you is, if you have a product or a site which is suitable for both men and women, for example, alcohol, but like Johnny Walker or any other sort of site or service, Do you think it would be silly or smart to separate a social site and community for women and men, seeing how women and men are sociologically and socially very different? Thank you.
If I can answer that question, no, I don't think you should separate them, but I'll leave it to the panel to. So you have a blog, and it basically, her blog caters equally to men and women, and she's asking the question of whether it would be clever or not so clever to actually separate your audiences. That's what you're saying, yeah.
So, two examples. First one is Ben & Jerry's. Ben & Jerry's caters to all ice cream lovers, independent of gender. So there I would say we have chosen not to, because it's all about the ice cream, the pleasure, the Ben & Jerry mission of doing good in society, and all of these things, which we believe is one of the reasons why our consumers pick up the ice cream, independent of which sex they have. Another example is Rexona. Rexona both has a deo range for women and a deo range for men. Here the reasons for using a deo and the concerns of using a deo can be very, very different. So here we do choose to segment basically in order to have each of these target groups to voice out their concerns and be able to deal with them in an independent, targeted way.
Just for the record, I use Rexona men's deodorant because it just smells less girly, not so pink. And I just to answer your question about segmenting, your audience. If you're writing to both sets of people, why do you need to segment? Because it really doesn't matter. You're actually, your value and your core value, and it comes down to that, what is the core value of your product or service and where are you positioning it? And if you're talking to both sets of people, there's no necessity to actually start to segment. And I think segmenting it would actually take your product or service backward.
Yeah, I mean, a blog is a personal statement. You're putting your persona online, right? And it is what it is, and it attracts both sides, attracts both sides. If you start to split that, you become a split personality, and it might not be fake, it might not feel real, right? And people start to distrust the fact that you're not writing as you, right? You're actually writing two different things. Unless you clearly state, hey, this side is for women, this side is for men, and that's, and I do it, but it's still part of who you are. It's personal. Blogs are very personal, and if you go that way, you have to make sure you're pretty clear.
I'd say marketing is pretty personal too. It is. I think that's the point. Marketing is personal. We've moved into the era of we are all individuals, and we want to be in some way spoken to individually. And I think that's what you were bringing up earlier as well, Jane.
I just wanted to touch on the point as well about the if you're marketing to both men and women. I think one of the things that one reason why you might want to drive to a particular market is if you're marketing to both men and women and you want an equal number, so diverse set of people coming to your blog, then obviously if you're noticing that the demographics of women listeners is going up by a lot and you want to bring in more men, then obviously you want to tailor for a certain period of time a little bit more to drive more men in. So I'll give you an example at Athena. It's a women's network, but because we're in Singapore, I want to build it and make it very diverse. So it's not an expat network, and it's not a local women's network, it's for everyone. So I have to work harder in the local women's networking and marketing to attract the local women. I think because networking is a little bit newer here in the format that we're actually delivering. So although I don't market in any particular set, or I'm not really looking for any particular one or the other, I do have to drive certain campaigns down a certain route depending on the diversity that I'm actually attracting.
Good points. Are there any other questions from the floor? Yes. And if you've got some other questions, if you could stick your hand up and let it stay up so that we'll get the microphone to you next. Thank you.
Hi there, I'm Lindsay Robertson, I'm a TV producer. It was a question on sort of age bracket demographics. And I know Suzanne, you touched on it a little bit. It was what has research into female social media activity taught marketers about the traditional age bracket demographics? And have they really shifted and expanded? And are they very different whether you're looking at beauty or entertainment or financial services?
Yes, so basically it depends a bit of which market, how many details we'll have on those readings. But the way we look at it in Singapore is that we basically look into 15 to 35 and then we look 30 to 44. Those are basically our cuts because they are the bigger bulk of the strategic consumer target for females specifically. And there what we see is that with the 15 to 35, yes, totally moved. Totally moved. So there basically you will see that the internet is at 82% penetration, and the average consumption is as much as like 2.5 hours a day. Huge shift. If you look into the slightly older group, the numbers are very, very different. So that's where we have taken the decision that for those brands that we look at basically increasing with a younger consumer base, that's where we're doing all the experimentation, that's where we're doing the big shifts in terms of our marketing spends. Whereas with the older group, we are sticking more to the traditional model. And we have made choices this year to say that some of the brands that are targeted entirely towards the young consumers, they're not going on TV at all. They're purely digital, purely outdoor.
We've seen, I mean, women, older women who are online do spend a lot of time on certain things, social, they're actually very, very active socially. Looking at pictures, and on Facebook and all that kind of stuff. But the share of older women online is less than the younger women, right? So there's just less older women online in general than, but the ones who are online are very active. So, when from your point, when you're trying to market to that whole segment, is digital, would you shift that much digital because you're only reaching a smaller segment of the population?
I'm just reading some of the tweets that are up there. I can see the Rexona comment is going to go far. And also I really like the idea, as a straight male, I would take a spa voucher over the mouse pad. And I think that just shows, who put that comment up there? Who's the straight male who'd like to have the spa voucher that we're going to give to you later? Who is that?
I'll take one.
I think that's it. It's like there should be that freedom in marketing. It should be a freer type of thing, I think, bound by all these sort of demographics and bound by what we think women want or what we think men want. It's not going to work forever. I would just like to ask you, how many Bella Box subscribers are women and how many are actually men?
It's a majority of women, like vast majority of women.
But you do have some male subscribers as well, don't you?
Very few though.
And is this a model that you would extend into the male category?
In Australia we have, so we do have a men's subscription, and Singapore we don't, because the market is just, unfortunately Singapore is a small market, and on top of that the men's segment is smaller, and actually the number of companies operating in the men's grooming market is very small. There's just not many brands available. Where in Australia, there's a lot of Australian brands. There's more brands and products available in the market.
So stay tuned, in other words. You never know.
Yeah.
So then I'm just going to have to use that Rexona.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions from the floor, please? We'd like to just take one last question if you have one. I think somebody had their hand up there. Is there? No? We've answered all of your questions? Really? Wow. There we go. Okay, if you could please pass the microphone to the lady there. All right, hi. Hello.
Hi. Hi, Joe from Comscore. My name is Anna. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you mentioned that the engagement level for social media between men and women were equivalent, but women spend more time networking. I was just curious if that would link to women spending more time engaging as well.
So I think I'm getting confused between the number of people, percentage, the share of men and women who are online is the same. But the time spent, which is what I mean by engagement, the time spent. So the average woman spends more time on Facebook social networking than men. And just anecdotally, as what I said, it's just the older women especially, more engaged ones are on. They're looking at their grandchildren and stuff. They're looking at, that's what my mother does. She's looking at grandchildren, commenting on grandchildren, and they sit there like, whereas the men actually don't. Look at the older men; they are not really on social networking that much. It's weird because the graph of as you get older, of men and older women are on social. The reach of social older women is quite high. It's like 60% of the ones who are online. Yeah. When men go online, it doesn't. It's 20%. It's weird. It's wacky. It's just, I mean, it goes back. I guess when they're more social, in general. That's my only explanation.
Do we agree with that? Do we automatically agree that women are just more social? I think that's a fallacy. Yeah, look at all the women saying no, Joe. You're going to have to come back here tomorrow and prove that, okay?
We're talking about football and beer.
I think we need to actually, just the last thing I'd like to do is, it's probably something we should have done at the beginning, but it's just come up now. What does women being social mean? Gossiping? Because that's a very old school mentality, isn't it? What does it actually mean that women, Joe, you could answer that, women are online being more social? What does that
I
mean?
mean, from my perspective, commenting on things, not just putting a like, right, but actually writing a comment.
Oh, you mean they have opinions?
Yeah, and they'll express it. And express it on, on Facebook or on whatever, and just actually put it on. The guys that, okay, like, done, right, and, at best. That they don't actually really voice out what they're saying, opinion, which is not an opinion, it's just like, oh, I like a nice picture.
That's an opinion. I'm just trying to catch you out.
I know.
All right, if there aren't any other questions, thank you all so much for being here this afternoon. Please, a round of applause for our panelists.